Hello stimulus seekers and worried fiscal conservatives. This is your $1,400 stimulus check update, third stimulus package update. And as always, things are always changing in Washington, especially this week as things are getting ramped up in the Senate. Joe Manchin and other senators are weighing in, giving their thoughts and opinions. And of course, one man who stands taller than the rest, Joe Manchin, holds a lot of power, is giving his thoughts that are worrying some stimulus seekers on his viewpoints. Also, news is now coming out about the fourth stimulus package that's already being talked about. And there's some major news regarding what that could involve. The last couple of videos I've been speculating on what could be included in that fourth stimulus plan. I have a little bit more information. So if you're a stimulus seeker, you'll want to check that out later in this video. Hey everyone, my name is Randy and welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now I am covering these stimulus package updates on this channel because it's of great interest to myself. So I figured let's put these videos out on YouTube. So if you're new to this channel, the Late Night Grind, go ahead and click that subscribe button as well as that notification bell icon. That way YouTube will notify you when I release a new video, which I do pretty much on a daily basis, especially when I get some new information. A big shout out and thank you to all my current subscribers who've been smashing that thumbs up button. You guys have been doing an amazing job. So keep on doing it. And like I said, if you're new to the channel, join in that club and smash that thumbs up button as well. I'd really appreciate it. And it really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. It just sends a signal to YouTube that lets them know that they can share this video with other audiences. All right, guys, let's get into it. So the news right now is that the Senate holds the power in terms of this stimulus plan. The House of Representatives already passed it. It's now sitting in the Senate. I just read this morning that they're still eyeing to take up this bill this week, meaning take up a vote at the end of the week. Now right now they're talking about things that they may want to change, different amendments that may want to be added. And there are still many progressive Democrats pushing to have the $15 an hour minimum wage enacted somehow in this bill. But in my opinion, when you see Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema taking a hard stance on it and even wanting to possibly limit the $1,400 stimulus checks, it's highly doubtful that it would go forward, especially with Joe Biden saying he's open to all proposals, but as of right now, he doesn't think the $15 an hour minimum wage will be included. Okay, so what's changing right now? Well, Joe Manchin, he actually wants to limit this stimulus plan and make it even more targeted. And specifically by making more targeted, he's talking about the income levels for those who would actually receive the $1,400 stimulus checks. I looked at all my sources and I haven't found any specifics of it yet, other than Joe Manchin saying this needs to be a much more targeted bill. The last time around he said that he wanted to make the income limits much lower. I don't think quite as low as what the Republicans had, which was $50,000 per individual and $100,000 per couple. But it looks like it could shrink down, as Joe Biden said he would be open to listening to that if that is what the senators want to include. Now, if we look at the storyline kind of from beginning to where we are right now, it looks like deadlines, timelines, and getting these bills passed in a hurry kind of takes precedent over the minutia of things that might change. A couple other senators have speculated that, yeah, the income levels, they're talking about lowering them. There's a few people that have been on board with that. But one mentioned if it does change, he doesn't think it would actually change that much. But this does bring up a good point. If in 2020 you made less money than you did in 2019, then it is of your own interest to get your taxes done and filed as quickly as you can so that when they pass this bill, they will actually have your most recent tax returns showing that, well, you made less money, so you may actually drop below that income threshold in order to receive those stimulus checks. One of the other things that Joe Manchin is also looking to do, and it's not very popular at this point, is actually keep that $300 per week unemployment insurance benefit as it stands. The House passed it with a $400 per week benefit boost. Joe Manchin wants to knock it back down to $300 per week, and basically he's just trying to do things to make this $1.9 trillion package a little bit smaller. Now, whether or not that actually goes through, we will know more later this week. Joe Manchin and several senators are looking to take this bill up this week, meaning they hope to have a vote on it or at least something very close to a vote by the end of this week. March 14th is a big deadline that they want to hit. They do not want it on their hands to let some of the unemployment benefits lapse. That will lapse on March 14th if something new does not replace it. And now for some big news this was an extremely popular thought, an extremely popular proposal when it was first proposed last year. As you might know, last year there were a lot of different proposals that came out after the CARES Act saying, well, we need more the people need more stimulus. Unemployment's still at record highs. Well, things have changed a little bit. Economic numbers are not looking as bad as people thought they would. Unemployment is still relatively high, but it's certainly not as high as it was in the spring of 2020. But the economic effects of all the shutdowns, the regulations, the manufacturing slowdowns, and the fact that people were essentially holding on to stimulus checks, holding on to whatever money they have and not spending it, because they didn't know if they were going to get more relief, because they didn't know if they were going to get their job or their hours back. Overall economic decline has continued. So what they're looking to do is, in this fourth stimulus plan that I've actually done a couple of videos on, that could be in the realm of $3 to $4 trillion, which is right now there's actually 9 progressive Democrats that are pushing for multiple or monthly stimulus checks to be included. Now, I didn't see any details in terms of per person, who would be eligible or things like that. But basically, they're piggybacking off of a letter that 50 Democratic senators wrote to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris before, back in January, when they were pushing monthly stimulus checks of $2,000, which to me is kind of insane. But now we have another letter that was backed by 9 senators backing monthly stimulus checks to be included in this fourth stimulus plan. Again, I didn't see any details on it, and I highly doubt it would be something like $2,000 per person per month for 6 months, especially when you have senators like Joe Manchin who even want this stimulus bill to be even more targeted and cost less. Unless you could somehow get a Republican or 2 on board, I don't see something like that passing with a couple more fiscally conservative Democratic senators on board and needing their vote to actually get this passed. So I want to know your thoughts on this third and fourth stimulus package that we are discussing. Do you think it will be passed, and when? So the one that they're looking at right now, the Senate, it's in the Senate's hands at this point. Let me know if you think it will go through. Personally, I think it will go through. Whether some of the details may or may not be changed based on what the House passed. I think some of those details will be changed. Some things may be stripped away. But if we look back at the previous stimulus packages that were passed, it came down to a deadline or a time frame. When the pressure was on, they just went ahead and signed it, regardless if it was exactly what they wanted. I think something similar is going to happen. I don't think it'll include the $15 an hour minimum wage because there's several Democrat senators against that, and they're coming up against a deadline. And not only that, we've heard from Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, as well as some other senators that said, we're just going to try to put that through on its own bill, on its own time. Now, if we're looking at this next infrastructure bill, a lot of people have speculated, well, it might include $15 an hour minimum wage. Maybe now it will include monthly stimulus checks. But again, I don't think that would actually go through if you have multiple Democratic senators not supporting the higher spending. So I want to know what your thoughts are. After this stimulus package gets passed and we start to begin about the infrastructure package and details start to roll out, I want to know your thoughts. If Joe Manchin, if Kristen Sinema, if possibly a couple of others, do you think they would actually go for something like that? As it's shaping up to be a fight among Democrats, the more progressive Democrats, which want to spend, versus some of the more conservative or fiscally conservative Democrats like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. But online, there's certainly resources where we can see exactly what's happening. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching this video and sticking around to the end. If you have not, give this video a big thumbs up. Again, I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you guys on the next video.